When my mum came back and she was so upset that she'd been diagnosed with cancer, that night I prayed to God, and this might sound a bit strange, but I prayed to God that when my results come through, they will be cancerous too.
I'm Chantal Miller, proud Nevisian and Jamaican, and founder of Island Girls Rock. On this podcast, we champion women of the Caribbean and its diaspora, encouraging them to share their stories in a space created to celebrate them. It's equal parts fun, informative, and always engaging. Welcome to our tribe. On this episode, we speak with my cousin. Yes, it's nepotism, Lea Parris-Cambridge, and we speak about her journey with cancer, with plant-based eating. We touch on her spirituality and how she remains positive in the face of adversity. It's a real pleasure having Lea here today. Hello, Lea. How are you?
I'm fabulosa.
Hey, guys. So we're back again with Island Girls Rock podcast, and I'm here with a very special guest, Lea Parris-Cambridge. Lea, not just my friend, but she's my cousin, and it's really awesome to have her on the show today. A little bit of nepotism doesn't hurt, does it?
It certainly doesn't. And if it means doing what we're doing, then I'm all for it.
Oh, fantastic. Welcome, Lea. So today we're going to speak about, your absolute love of Nevis, the journey that you're going through right now. Mm-hmm. But I always start off by asking our guests, who are you?
Oh, who am I? Mm. Oh, my gosh. I am possibilities.
Okay.
And that is so many different things. And it's really whatever's in my heart, I do. And so anything is possible.
Anything is possible. So what would you say that you feel that you're here to do?
Oh, my purpose. Mm-hmm. My purpose. And this is something that's been with me for so many years. Because when I revisit diaries and notebooks and everything like that, I haven't changed. I want the same thing. Mm-hmm. And that is to make a difference.
Okay.
And so life tends to send you on a journey to determine where you're going to make a difference.
All
so
right.
Whatever the difference is, and it connects to me, then I'm going to make every effort to do it.
Okay. And another question that we ask every single guest. Who are you repping today? Which island?
Oh, my goodness. Nevis! Oh,
finally.
Oh, absolutely. Nevis. Oh, my gosh. I'm in love.
I know. I know all about your love affair with that 36 square mile island.
Gosh.
Yes, we are both repping Nevis hard today.
That
it's
majestic
really
Nevis peak. Oh, gosh. Absolutely.
One of the questions that I have for you, something that's actually really important to not just myself, but to the entire Island Girls Rock community, is surrounding wellness. And I know that you are a qualified personal trainer. How did you get there? How did Lea become a personal trainer?
Oh my gosh, you're taking me back now.
I am.
You? I was in Nevis at the time with my son, who was probably about 11 or 12 at the time. And I had been on the island for a while, and I wanted to do something that was meaningful. I didn't just want to work just for the sake of working and earning a wage at the end of the week. And I wanted to do something more. And so I thought, what can I do that's something that's meaningful to others, that also allows me to have time to be with my son, because he was still in school. So family quality time was very, very important to me, and having time then to do other things within the community. So I thought, what could I do? And what do I enjoy doing?
Right.
And I always enjoyed going and working out in the gym and going to aerobics classes and things like that. And I thought, well, I was in Nevis and there really wasn't much going on as far as, clubs, because obviously the small islands.
Yeah.
And
what year was that, Lea?
That would have been 15 or 17 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, so that's easy for me to say. But yeah, so I was in Nevis, and so I came back to England and qualified.
So we're going to flash forward a few years. So you're back in England and you're just kind of floating around, and something happens that really changes the course of your life, that changes your journey. Take us through that day and that particular time period and what happened.
Right. Well, I was actually a leisure club manager down at Beaumont House in Old Windsor, and I I had been, again, fit and healthy. And one evening I was getting out of the shower and I was starting to, dry my skin. And as I rubbed my hand across my chest, I felt this little lump. Mm-hmm. And I'd say it was like the size of a lentil.
Okay.
But it was so close to the surface, I could see the clear, white of it beneath the skin. And it was a definite lump. Mm-hmm. And because I had small breasts, that, I thought, well, this was really unusual because I'm used to these little round, smooth breasts. And so I showed my mum and she was concerned straight away because it was my breasts. And so she told me to go to the doctors. And I went to the doctors and it was a locum doctor, so she wasn't our regular doctor. Mm-hmm. And she looked at my breast, she examined it and she said, oh, it's just probably a bit of gristle.
Okay.
Just come back and check it in 6 weeks' time. Mm-hmm. And so I said, well, I knew my breasts well enough. I wasn't one of these women who examined her breast regularly, and I was 35 at the time.
Okay.
And so I thought, I haven't got big breasts, and I'm not, with bigger breasts, there might be more tissue and stuff like that, and I could understand the terminology gristle if I had big breasts, but I had small little boobs.
So you felt it was abnormal?
Well, I just knew that it wasn't there before and that wasn't right, and it was under the skin. It's not like it was a spot that was on top of the skin what you could squeeze. This was underneath the skin. So I said, well, can I have a mammogram? Where did that come from? I'd never even discussed mammograms. Do you know what I mean? No one in our family really discussed them. And so she said, well, you wouldn't be invited for a mammogram because you're only 35.
Right.
And so because you're, 37. And so she said, when you're 40, in your 40s, then you'll be invited for one. So I said, well, can I have one? Can I, I don't even know what made me insist, but I said, can I have one? And she said, well, if I put you down for a mammogram, you'll have to probably wait a month.
Wow.
And I said, oh, okay, just as long as I can have one. I'd just really rather have one. And that's how I insisted on getting a mammogram. But in the meantime, like within, I think it was a week, my mum, who was, my mum's Irish, so her skin is white. So she'd come out of the bathroom, and it just so happened that my little sister and I had a mirror on the top of the stairs. When you're getting dressed up, you look in the mirror. And my mum was always saying, will you move that mirror from the top of the stairs? Anyway, the mirror was at the top of the stairs. She came out of the bathroom and she could see a red patch on the side of her breast. And so she showed me it, and I thought it looked like somebody had thrown a tennis ball and it hit her and stung her. That's the size of it. And she thought because my mum's buxom that maybe her arm was resting on it.
Right.
And so she said, oh, it's probably that. But in the morning, the red patch was still there. And so she called the doctor and they basically said, come right now. Mm-hmm. Because she was over 50.
Of course.
So they said, come right now. And from there, they sent her straight to the hospital, the parapet, to have a biopsy and a mammogram and an x-ray. And so when she came back, basically she was bawling her eyes out. She was devastated, the fact that she just went through this process. What does that mean? It can only mean one thing. And so we just then had to wait for her results, which was 2 weeks. In the meantime, my mammogram appointment comes through and I go, and I'm at work at this time, and I thought, well, let me go during my lunch break and then I'll come back to work. Went during my lunch break and they just said straight away, we need to do an ultrasound. Mm-hmm. And so that was after the mammogram. We're doing an ultrasound, and then they said, "We'll just do a biopsy. We've noticed something." It's like you're not even really prepared for anything like that. And so then they did the biopsy, and I thought, well, it was a little bit tender, and so I didn't go back to work. I went home, and of course walked in, and my mum was there, and I said, told them what they'd done to me. And of course she was like, oh my gosh, this is going to mean one thing. They wouldn't do these things unless there's something sinister going on.
Right.
Anyway, my mum's results come back and they tell her that she's been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yes.
And she is devastated.
Which typically that's the reaction.
Absolutely. She walked through the door and she didn't want me to go with her to the doctors when they were getting the results. So when she came in, she was crying her eyes out. I didn't know what to say. But the typical English thing or British thing that you would say is, would you like a cup of tea?
Absolutely, because that solves everything.
It just seems to help to calm things down, doesn't it? And so it was like, I made her a cup of tea and she was so upset, thinking about losing, her losing a life meaning that she's leaving her children behind without mums, and who's going to love you the way I love you, and all of this, and you know, all those concerns. And so jumping a couple of weeks now, my results come through, and I have to say that when my mum came back and she was so upset that she'd been diagnosed with cancer, that night I prayed to God, and this might sound a bit strange, but I prayed to God that when my results come through, they will be cancerous too. This will be a positive result.
I remember this.
So I haven't said that for a long time. So
I know.
Really
I actually remember this.
That.
Yes.
And and it's not because I wanted to die or you know this pact with my mum to die or anything like that. I just had this faith that everything was going to be all right. And I say faith because just I think it was about 2 or 3 years before that, I had actually renewed my faith and got baptised while I was in Nevis. And so, it's not my own strength that I was really working with. And so I just felt that I had enough faith that we would be all right and I would be all right. And I could support my mum so she could never say, you don't know what I'm going through.
Okay.
Because people, when they're going through something like this on their own, they can withdraw, they can get depressed, and I didn't want that for her. I loved my mum so much, I didn't want her to go through it by herself. And so my results came through and they were positive. And I had breast cancer too.
Yes.
And we were opposite breasts. I was left, she was right. And so then we went on this journey together and we made a pact that everything was going to remain normal. We were going to, we weren't going to let this affect our lives in any negative way, and it was business as usual. And of course, we had my son who was 17 at the time. My little sister was 12 at the time, and my niece was 7, because we're very close knit families as we are in the Caribbean. And so we had to then talk about how do we talk to the children about it, because we were dealing with 3 different ages, which means that their understanding is very different.
Absolutely.
And so with my niece, it was a lot more childlike, and and mummy, nanny and auntie, have going to have some treatment and medicine and that things like that. And with my little sister, she was upset because she thought my mum was going to lose her hair, which that was a part of it. And so we had to reassure her and say, oh, that's all right, it's only going to be for a little while, and look at all the wigs that she can wear, and making it fun.
I have a story about wigs.
Yes, you do have a story. And
excellent.
And then with my son, he was different. He was 17, and I'm his mum. And this is a very, this age for the boys. One thing is, I walked in with my sunglasses on, and all the children were in the living room, and I started talking. You must take your glasses off. Okay. People need to see your eyes.
Okay.
Because when I was saying to my son, this is the situation, but everything's going to be fine. God's going to, take care of it. And he couldn't see my eyes. And he actually came over to me and he took my glasses off of my eyes to see if I was saying, meaning what I was saying.
What you were saying.
Or am I just saying it just to just
to make them feel better.
Yes, exactly. Right. And so he took my glasses off, and I said it again, and I said it on my heart that everything is going to be okay. And so then I just remember him walking out of the room while we were still talking to my little sister, and then I was conscious that he wasn't in the room, and so I stepped out into the hallway, and he was stood there in the hallway with my shades on, just stood there, and I took them off of him, and I just looked at him and I said, God has got this. He is going to watch over us and watch over me, and everything's going to be fine. And with that, he took off the glasses. He went, give me a kiss on the cheek. He said, all right, Mum, see you later. Went out, and trust me, life was just normal for all of us.
Yes, I witnessed this, everyone. I actually was in the mix a little bit.
You were.
I do remember.
We had some funny moments, you and I.
I actually remember when you called me to tell me, because obviously you told me that, these things had occurred, that you found a lump, that Auntie had also found something, and that you were both being checked and so forth. And so I got that call, and you were like, yeah, Shan, so this is what's happening. So it's all positive. We've both been diagnosed with cancer, and this is how you're delivering the news to me. I'm like, what's she saying? This is quite surreal. Both of you? Like both? And I couldn't quite wrap, because I thought, what are the odds? that both my aunt and my cousin have been diagnosed with breast cancer. So, but you were so upbeat and so positive. But you know what? It's early stages. We've got the NHS. We'll be taken care of. And so, I was like, okay, yeah, man, we're going to beat this. Yeah. Okay, yeah. What do you need me to do? How can I support you? But then I hung up the phone. I was like, what? And I just had to take a step back. I'm like, okay, no, this wasn't actually good news. So, I took a step back for myself. And I was so aware that for me, I wanted to support you fully. And if this was the route that you wanted to take, if this was your approach, then I had to take that approach also. So then I had to call my mum. And tell Vanessa Parris that this is what's going on with your niece, right? And so that was a different experience altogether. But I think, Lee, what you did for the family, and quite selflessly, was that in your approach to your cancer diagnosis, you were so reassuring to us that never for 1 minute did any of us not believe that both of you were going to survive. We knew you were. And so for us, it was just like, what do we do? How can we be there for you?
Yeah.
But that's down to you.
Okay.
And so I want to actually thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Because you're like my sister. And that phone call could have gone quite differently.
Yes.
I could have been curled up on the floor in a fetal position. But because of you, I wasn't. And you brought such a light to the family with your diagnosis. I know it could sound quite crazy to our listeners, but that's what you did. Oh. And so we all started to do our research, like, okay, because you were saying, like, giving us words and phrases, and we were like, what? Okay,
yes,
Google.
New language. Yes, seriously.
Completely new language. Yeah. And then, you both survived, and you received exceptional care.
Oh, my goodness.
From the NHS. Exceptional.
Exceptional.
So let's take a moment to say thank you to the NHS.
Oh, for sure. Oh, happy 70th anniversary. And I have to say I was completely looked after.
Yes.
My feet didn't get a chance to stay on the ground. I was just swept up in care, in tests, in getting right down there. They didn't waste any time whatsoever.
Yes.
When I was on the wards, the nurses were so lovely, and chatting. And see and even down to the anaesthetists who were putting you asleep. They just you never felt like I was a patient who was sick.
So, Lee, you were obviously well cared for. Both you and Auntie Mary survived. We're so grateful for that. But then, your love for Nevis got you thinking, what if I didn't have this option and I was based fully in Nevis and I had received this diagnosis? Yeah. What would I have done? So what were your thoughts, and what did you then decide to do for Nevis?
Well, you see, God works in mysterious ways. While I was still in the hospital after the mastectomy, I was brought magazines. And I was going, it's like an OK magazine, one of those magazines. Right. And so I turned the pages. The double page spread was of St. Kitts and Nevis. What are the chances of that?
Right.
In that hospital where I am. I mean, most people haven't even heard of Nevis. And so for it to be in the magazine. And I just thought, number one, I was homesick. And number two is I thought, all my time in Nevis, what have I ever heard of about cancer awareness, breast cancer, and mammograms, and I can't recall hearing anything.
Right.
And so with that, I contacted the Minister of Health on the island, and which was a new party had just come into power, and so I contacted them. I contacted the Chief Medical Officer at Alexandra Hospital and another chief doctor, and to find out, did they do mammograms? Was there awareness on the island, and was there any support, and what kind of treatments? And the response was, we don't have mammograms. There is no organisation in Nevis, and mammograms can be done on St. Kitts.
Okay.
And in Nevis alone, they would just basically do the surgery to remove the breast, and that was it.
What year was this, Lee? Was it 2007 or 2000?
It was 2007 that I had that conversation, because that's the year I was diagnosed.
I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yes, 2007.
This isn't now. This is 2007.
No, 2007. So that's 11 years ago. So it's 11 years that I was diagnosed. And so from that, 6 weeks after my surgery, I flew back to Nevis. And because I asked, I'd like to share this experience to raise awareness of cancer in Nevis. And initially it started off with Nevis and then it extended to St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I just went on the radio in Nevis straight away. I was doing TV, and that's where it started. And that was actually while I was on the journey. And then and when I was there, I was doing every activity. So, I climbed the mountain. I was going horseback riding.
And
I was doing
6 weeks
after my surgery.
Your surgery, you're climbing Nevis Peak.
Yes, I was. And so then after that would be the chemotherapy started in the August. And so I had hair when I went for the first trip after the surgery. And so I wanted to go back every step of the journey so that people could see any changes, any physical changes. Yes. Of course, then I went back with no hair. Then I went back and had put on weight because, of course, all the medication, it affects you.
Right.
The only thing that didn't change was my smile. Because that was in the same place and it was a genuine smile throughout the whole journey. And that was really important for me, was to show people that you can go through this journey with this illness that, you didn't know about before. And we've only ever known it to be a scary word or an unspoken word or the big C, it's a big taboo. And I wanted to show people in Nevis that they could go through a journey and continue smiling and, not be afraid of this. And it was to help to remove that taboo and the stigma.
Okay, so how did you formalize what you were doing? What grew out of something that came from your heart and from your own experience and from wanting to really impact positively on survivors of cancer in Nevis and people who had been diagnosed? What did you formally then decide to do with that?
Right. Well, then I thought, I needed to make sure that this can be an ongoing thing that I can help and then look at how I was looked after in England. It was really modelling the care and everything that I had received in England. And so I set up an organisation called Pink Lily Cancer Care. And it was actually breast cancer care at the time. That's since been dropped.
Yes.
Because we support all cancers now.
I noticed that.
Yes. So now we embrace men, women, children of all cancers, because cancer is cancer. It's just in a different part of your body. We go through the same emotions, the same fears, the same surgeries. And so, it's the same thing. So we need to offer that support to everyone. And so officially on February the 9th, 2008, Pink Lily Cancer Care was established as a charitable organisation in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Fantastic. And the name Pink Lily, where does that come from?
Well, pink, initially because of the breast, that was very feminine colour. So the pink, and lily, I was called Lily as a child. And also it's a beautiful flower, one of my favourite flowers. Yes. And so I kind of combined it and, and it was very feminine and very lovely. And the flower represents hope. And, when someone's sick or someone's not well, or just to cheer someone up or to, or ask for forgiveness or show your love, you bring them flowers and it brings hope and comfort and, joy. And so the flowers, that's what it represented. And in my logo, it has a lily, a pink lily, and it has black hands. So the pink lily is being held by these black hands, and the black hands represent the Afro-Caribbean people. So this is African people in the Caribbean. And I had a butterfly above it, a pink butterfly. And the butterfly represents freedom, because as free as the butterfly is. And so again, freedom from fear, all of these negatives. And so that butterfly represents freedom. And yes, when we were launched, and we then went on our journey to raise awareness, educate, inform, provide support for families going through it. We set up a breast screening program where we raised money so that we could screen I think our goal was 200 women. We screened 204 women. Yes. We raised 50,000 DC, and that's over 50,000. That's what, £15,000.
Yeah.
So that went on, and we provided counselling, because in my experience and training and everything, I'm a trained teacher as well, and so I designed different programs. So I designed a breast screening program. So we provided the awareness and little education before the ladies went for a mammogram. So we talked about the breasts and what the breast looks like. We talked about what cancer is, explained what a mammogram is, and answered any questions and, and shared the experience, so that it would help them to be at ease when they were going over for a mammogram. And we also offered post-counselling as well. And out of those 204 women who had the screening, 2 were diagnosed with cancer, went on to have early detection and went on to have treatment, and they're survivors today.
Oh, wonderfully. And, there's so much more work that Pink Lily has done, not just for Nevis and St. Kitts, but I know that you guys do remote counseling and support. And unfortunately, we can't get into everything because there's so much more to your story that we're really anxious to share. But I also want to congratulate you and your team
Thank you.
For the work that you do. And you approach cancer care from every angle, emotional, physical, mental well-being.
Yes.
And so congratulations thank you so much for establishing Pink Lily for that island that we love. We're going to time travel now. We're going to flash forward a few years. And where are we? 2016.
Okay.
You're in Nevis.
I am in Nevis in 2016.
In 2016. And I don't know if it was a phone call or WhatsApp or something, but we were in communication. And then you tell me something.
Yes.
Let's share that.
Yes. Again, in my lovely Nevis, in the sun, relaxing on the lounger, and I noticed that my tummy had started to swell. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm pregnant. But it started to swell really rapidly. And this is like in the space of, a few days. And I thought, well, maybe it's triplets. They say that, when you've got multiple births, you grow quicker. And I thought, no, this is ridiculously fast. Right. And so I went to Alexandra Hospital. And I had an ultrasound, and through the ultrasound, they detected that there was all this fluid in my abdomen, and they said, you need to go back to England because we can only do so many distant diagnostic, tests in here. There's only so much we can do, and they give me a chest X-ray, and that was clear. But I remember feeling when I was lying on the bed when the 2 doctors were there looking at the screen, this sense of, this is not good news came over me, and I actually felt very internally emotional, and my life kind of flashed in front of me, and I could picture my children, my little girls.
Yes, because by this time
they were just like 3 and 4,
and you were also
like that.
married.
And yes,
you are
by
married.
this time, yes, I'm married now. I've got a grown-up son now, and so, but it was their little faces that were flashing in my face, and I just kept on thinking that it just came into my mouth that Mummy's not there and they'll be calling my name and I'm not going to be there. Right. And it was very, very emotional. I don't know, where it came from, but it just, that sense of fear crept in. And so I got back to England. The day I flew in, I saw my doctor the day I flew in on the Sunday. Yes. And then I was at the
NHS again.
Absolutely, NHS for sure. And then I went to the hospital for bloods on the Monday. So it was very, very quick. And by the Thursday, so I was admitted, and then I was in hospital for the whole weekend, and they were looking to drain this fluid now that they had said that this is fluid. It's ascites, which was a build-up of fluid. Never heard of it before. In my whole 10 years, 9 years at that time of raising awareness for Pink Lily, this was never a sign or symptom that I had read about. This is not what I was educated. Yes, absolutely. And so so then the doctor came, and they told me to ensure that my family were with me. Some families of members were with me the next day. And I was like, no, it's all right. Because me and my mum always would do our things separately and just do it and then come home or whatever. Right. But then in the morning when the nurse was coming to give me my observations, she went out and then came back in and said, there is a note there saying that you need to have family members with you. And when she said that, because again, it's repeated from the night before, again, something hit me that this is not good. They're not going to say something good. And so I got very fearful and very, emotional. I called my dad. I was crying. I called Eileen. I was crying, my sister Eileen. And I called my mum. And so they came to the hospital. And then my dad popped out. And so he wasn't there when the doctor came to tell me. But my mum was sat in a chair. My sister Eileen was sat in the chair and I was in a chair. And the consultant, he came and sat down beside me. And he was saying, well, we've done this and we've done that. And he was talking very slow and deliberate, irritatingly slow and deliberate, that I wanted to say, come on, hurry up. And he started to say, we've done this, we've done that, and we found a lesion in your liver. And I had my little notebook and a pen, and I was sitting there nodding, and I wrote this down. And your bowel. Something else. I wrote that down. I looked over to my mum. She was just very red and just very stiff. Eileen's eyes were full of tears and they're rolling down her cheeks already. And 3 areas of your spine. Mm-hmm. So he told me that this is a metastasis from the original breast cancer.
And what
from
does
the
that mean?
A metastasis means that it's spread from its original site and it's travelled obviously through the bloodstream to different organs, and which is considered also stage 4.
Yes.
Cancer, which some people say, well, what does that mean? What is stage 4? But that's...
So,
but he never said the word stage 4 at that time, but just told me it's here, here, here and here. And I was nodding and writing this down, And so then he said, I'm sorry, I couldn't have given you better news. He rubbed me on the shoulder and said, go home, get your affairs in order and be with your family.
And this was 2 years ago.
Yes.
So
And
2 years ago, you were diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you were told,
go home and get your affairs in order and be with your family and get prepared, basically. And my mum was still sat there. Eileen, because he walked out, Eileen jumped up and came over and she hugged me and we were like, but it was less than 60 seconds of that, just letting it out, that I stopped and said, hold on a minute, but I'm in England and I'm going to get taken care of because we have the NHS. What about our people in Nevis? What about our people in St Kitts?
With stage 4 diagnosis.
Yeah, with stage 4 diagnosis. What chance have they got? And again, because of my faith, it's like it dried up any fear and I was just driven to, I've got to let Nevis, let our people in Nevis know that I'm going through this, they can, and so even then the smile is still there.
Yes.
And this was a whole new thing. I didn't know what I was dealing with. Yeah. My mum bought me a book saying Beat Cancer by she was a professor and she also had cancer several times, in fact. And she had travelled to East Asia, looking at diet, looking at soil, looking at all of these things. And they established that in East Asia, there were less cases of cancer than there were in the West.
And why did she believe that was? What did she
her findings?
Yeah.
Was the food that we eat. It really, basically, that's down to the bottom line, is what we eat. Yes. And also she found that when those from East Asia had started to adopt the Western diet, the cancer case rates increased. I was on my computer for hours on end looking up all these things on how to heal, how to do this. And the vegan plant-based diet was it. And because I have Facebook, I was posting everything on Facebook. And I'd even returned to Nevis again to pick up my children, was on the radio and the news, the TV, to share the journey. And then when I came back, again, it was really about eating the right way. Yes. But while I was before I got to Nevis, I got a phone call from Lea Parris, who was in St Kitts, and he'd been a pharmacist and knew him for many years because he had a pharmacy in Nevis. And just so happen to have the same name.
I know, right?
The island's so small, we're all called Paris.
Everyone.
So he'd reached out to me because in the last 16 years he'd been studying biomedicine and everything like that. And he had minerals that he said these will basically help to heal your body. They're plant-based minerals. And, and he knew all about pharmaceuticals and, and that how many people were given medicine to treat just the symptoms, but not not to cure you, not to heal you. And so he gave me like 5 months supply of these plant-based minerals based on my own needs and what was lacking in my body. And I just started to, taking these every day and again, eating this vegan juicing. I was doing all of that.
I was so happy.
Oh, yes. And of course, you gave me some advice on some recipes. I
was so happy. I was like,
yes. You even came down and we're doing the smoothies. Yes. Loved it. And so I started doing that. And I say from that moment to now, all of my blood tests have all gone back into their normal ranges and remained in their normal ranges. The CT scan was showing reductions in the liver lesion. The bowel's now unremarkable, which meant there's nothing there.
Nothing, Lee.
And the spine had one of the lesions had again now been considered benign, and the other two were stable. And so for the journey for the last 2 years, everything has been shrinking, and I look normal. I've never.
Your best life.
I'm doing more than I did before.
And what I love about that, though, Lee, is that you were sharing all of this on Facebook so that people can see this is actually what stage 4 cancer looks like. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily all doom and gloom.
No.
These are the ways that I'm healing my body. So I'm sharing everything that I'm learning with my experience. I'm sharing with you.
Absolutely.
Because it is not a death sentence. And what you are doing, you are so powerful in what you're doing. You're removing that fear. Mm-hmm. You're dispelling all the myths.
Yeah.
You're showing people this is how I was given X amount of time. Because he did actually say a few months. I remember you said to me.
Well,
when
I asked him, is this stage 4 cancer, which was a couple of days later, he said, well, yes. And I said, is there a time frame? Yes. And he actually he wasn't able to give me a time frame, which to me that was kind of like a hopeful thing, that they're not saying it's only 2 weeks or 6 months.
Yes.
So it was kind of open because they wanted to treat me and see then if there was any difference, if it would go down.
Okay.
But you mentioned that cancer is not the death sentence. I always say, and I have done for the last 10 years, it's cancer is not the death sentence it was once known to be. Because, of course, we do die from having cancer.
Yes, this is true.
But I'm now educated to know that we can do so much more and take responsibility, because we give all the ownership to the doctors, because we feel that, well, this is our health, they're doctors.
They're the experts.
And that's it. And we only do what they do. We don't stop and say, well, what do I have to do emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, nutritionally, physically? What do I do to make sure that I can make this recovery, and help to heal my body and help to make myself better?
So what I want to know, Lee, is what keeps you so positive? What motivates you? What fills you up so that, you can look cancer in the face, not once, but twice. And second time around, a stage 4 diagnosis.
It's now 3 times now. This is the third. Yeah, so this is the third recurrence.
The third occurrence now, yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, I'd have to say, ultimately, above anything else, it has to be my faith, because it gives me strength and a courage that doesn't come to me naturally. I was always quiet. I was always quite reserved, and all right, maybe I'm not maybe it's quiet, but generally, I wasn't outspoken. Go out and talk to the public. I was very quiet, and I'm comfortable in my own circles. But this has made me come out and talk about something, wear my heart on my sleeve, be vulnerable. Show myself at my worst. And so my faith, I can only say my faith, and the love for my family, and again, just wanting to make a difference and serve my purpose in this world. Surely we're not here just to exist. Surely we're here to serve a purpose and live a life that makes a difference to others, and just be happy. God, gave me this life. He gave me this body, and I just want to make sure that I remain in gratitude. And so whatever the challenges are, I'll deal with them head on. And when you know your enemy, you know how to, combat it. And I just stay in the word, and it just gives me the strength that I need to endure anything. And even with death, this is something that I am now accepting, and it's more relevant and closer to me. And so I've had to prepare my children.
Yes, you have.
And we've had the discussion over the last couple of weeks about, heaven and because whether you've got cancer or any other disease, it's inevitable that we're all going to die.
Yes.
And so...
a guarantee.
It's a guarantee. And again, having faith means that, I know that death is a part of life. It's a part, we aren't going to be here forever. But I'm so conscious of now having to prepare my children for, the inevitable. Whether I'm here for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, I want them to be at peace whenever that time may come.
Okay.
And that, yes, they will mourn and they will cry, but they will be at peace, and they'll have all the wonderful memories that, me being their mummy and even their sister or cousin or anything would bring, that I've left my family celebrating my life rather than mourning it. And we all should celebrate each other's lives and all of our loved ones, because God gave us this life for a duration, whether it's a short duration or a long one, and it needs to be celebrated at every step of our journey.
Yes.
And that's how I live my life.
Well, thank you for living your life
Thank
the way
you.
that you have been, Miss Lily.
Thank you for being a part of it.
So, Lee, for the audience, where can they find out more about Pink Lily and the work that you're doing, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but the wider Caribbean and Australia now?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
So where can they find you?
Yeah, well, you can find me first and foremost. I have Facebook, and I will be tapping into all the other social media.
Yes, you will.
Yes, so you'll find me as Lea Parris-Cambridge. You'll see me on Facebook. We've got a GoFundMe page, and so that's a GoFundMe Lee's Nailing Cancer volunteer trip. And so you can find me there if you'd like to support. I'm going over to Nevis in October, and that we have our 10th anniversary walkathon, and it's titled Celebrate
done.
Life. Thank you. And so, and of course, I need to get there. And like I said, I've been volunteering for 10 years, and we do this all the time, and it really brings out the people to support.
does.
And you know, and they've each got their own reasons for doing the walk and raising awareness. And so, but through Island Girls Rock,
Yes,
you'll
this is
find
true.
us.
Come
and
to
so,
us. We got
yes.
all the info.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the internet's there. Just Google my name or Pink Lily Cancer Care, and you'll find us. Our contact details are there. Whether you're in Australia, in India, you know, in the Caribbean, in the UK, cancer is cancer, and you know, it's always easier to talk to someone who's gone through it, who knows the journey, who's not afraid to talk about it. And so I'm there to extend that love and support.
Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to spend time with you, and I'm so happy that you agreed to come onto our show.
Oh, my
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you, and I love you so much.
I love you too. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to the Island Girls Rock podcast. If you like what you hear, and we really hope you do, please subscribe, rate, or even comment. We'd really love to hear from you. You can catch every episode of Island Girls Rock podcast on Acast, Apple, Castbox, or your favorite podcast app. You can connect with us on Twitter and Instagram using IGR_love or with hashtag Island Girls Rock Pod. You can also visit islandgirlsrock.com to find out more about who we are and what we do. This podcast was produced by Unedited for the Unedited Stories Network. See you again soon.